It's been an interesting one, hasn't it, for shocks, with City obviously first of all being the biggest one, their fourth game in a row in all competitions that they've lost, to a resilient Brighton side who came back brilliantly in the second half to shock us all. But it was a deserved victory for Brighton, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's becoming a bit of a fortress for them, the Amex, I think, in terms of, look at some of the teams that beat this season, Man United, Tottenham, obviously, and now Man City. So he's building up a little bit of a reputation there, Hurzeler, I think. But I think it's not so much of a surprise now. I think that this team is really coming on kind of leaps and bounds, and they've shown that they can respond when they go behind in games as well.
Yeah. We
saw, obviously, with the Spurs game, especially. And I think a lot of the talent they've got now in there, alongside some of the experience that they have in this game, they made the changes, I think, in the second half that really kind of turned the tide, I think, of the game, and really compounded that misery on a Man City side that looked really out of sorts in that second half. But you've got to give a lot of credit to Brighton, I think, for the changes they made. I think Belieber, when he came on, was outstanding. Matt O'Reilly, it was just great to see him back after such an unfortunate sort of start to his Brighton career, having that awful injury and being out for the last 2 or 3 months. What an introduction for him.
Yeah, what a Premier League debut. Well, there was that, and there was João Pedro's return as well, who came off the bench with a goal and an assist. Yeah, inspired substitutions from Fabian Hurzeler, and it's another big scalp for him, isn't it? At the age of 31, who, we keep going on about his age, but it does feel like he's got more experience of coaching than he actually has, because those kind of in-game decisions have kind of won him games so far. Brighton up to, I think, 6th now, I believe. So, yeah, an amazing start to the season. And at this rate, you can't really see it not continuing. The players they've got who turn it on, especially in the second half, like Matoma's just such a handful, isn't he, as well? And when you've got players like João Pedro coming off the bench, it looks like a really positive forward line for Brighton, and no more than they deserve to get this win. And you could talk about City being out of sorts, but they dominated that first half, City. They had so many chances to put the game to bed. So there's a bit of luck, I think, on Brighton's part. But City were just wasteful as well. So going into the half-time break at 1-0 down, it kind of, I think, gave Brighton a bit of a hope that they could get back into it. I think at the minute, if there's ever a time to get back into a game against Man City, it's probably right now, isn't it? And credit to Brighton for doing that.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to say that, City are in a downturn in form, but I think with that set of players that they've got, it's always going to be a difficult task. But it's about, I think, a lot of the teams nowadays in the Premier League, you look at the amount of the times that teams are taking points off of each other. I mean, I think there's 4 points between 13th and 3rd, which is crazy. Yeah,
like Chelsea are in 3rd on the same amount of points as Brighton. That's mad.
I mean, it just shows how exciting a season it's shaping up to be, really, when if teams can keep being this competitive with each other and taking points off of each other. I mean, it's probably unprecedented. It could be, for all we know.
Yeah.
But I think the options that they've got on and off the bench, I think you mentioned there João Pedro. We mentioned Evan Ferguson, a couple of weeks ago, and him coming back and getting his first goal in a while. It's great for them, and I just think it's really easy on the eye to have so many young players coming through and seeing them kind of their talents being nurtured the way it has been, and they've got that kind of model down to a T, haven't they? The club at the moment.